Deep in the heart of a prehistoric world, millions of years before mankind walked the earth, a vast jungle stretched endlessly beneath the morning sun. Mist rose from an ancient river that wound through towering trees and thick vegetation. This was a world of giants, a world of hunters, and a world where survival was the only law. Beneath the murky waters of this river, two massive shadows lay coiled on the riverbed. These were Titanoboas, the largest snakes that ever lived, 40 feet of pure muscle and predatory instinct. Their scales, dark as midnight, blended perfectly with the river stones. They slept, waiting, hungry. At the river's edge, unaware of the danger lurking just feet away, a beautiful spotted deer bent its graceful neck to drink. The water was cool and clear. The morning was peaceful. The deer had no idea that death was sleeping so close. The deer wandered deeper into the jungle, moving between shafts of golden sunlight that pierced through the dense canopy above. Butterflies danced in the warm air. Colorful flowers bloomed in the shadows. The deer stopped to nibble on tender leaves, completely at peace in its world. With gentle eyes, it paused to smell the flowers, breathing in the sweet scent of the prehistoric forest. This innocent creature knew nothing of the nightmare that was about to unfold. It simply existed in this moment, calm, serene, alive. But in the jungle, peace never lasts long. Back at the river, something stirred in the depths. A single massive eye opened, yellow, reptilian, ancient. The pupil contracted to a deadly slit as the Titanoboa sensed vibrations through the water. Prey was near. With a surge of terrible power, both giant serpents began to move. Water exploded upward as their enormous bodies rose from the riverbed. 40 feet of muscle uncoiled, water cascading off their scales like waterfalls. The Titanoboas had awakened, and they were hungry. Their forked tongues tasted the air, catching the scent of the deer. The hunt had begun. But these snakes were not the only hunters in the jungle that day. High above, standing on a rocky cliff, overlooking the endless green canopy, another figure watched. This was no ordinary creature. This was the Guardian. 8 feet tall, with the body of a gorilla but the wisdom and intelligence of something more, this prehistoric warrior had protected these lands for years. Battle scars marked his powerful frame. His hands gripped a wooden spear carved from ancient wood. His eyes, sharp and knowing, scanned the jungle below. The Guardian knew the Titanoboas hunted these lands. He had fought them before. He had sworn to protect the innocent creatures of the forest. And today he would be needed once more. The wind blew through his dark fur as he searched the treetops, his hunter's instinct telling him something was wrong. Somewhere out there, danger was closing in. Through the thick undergrowth, silent as death itself, the Titanoboa slithered. Its massive body moved without sound, scales sliding smoothly over leaves and fallen branches. Its tongue flicked out, tasting the deer's scent growing stronger with every foot traveled. In the clearing ahead, the deer continued to graze, completely unaware. The distance between predator and prey shrank. 50 feet, 40 feet, 30 feet. The Titanoboa's muscles coiled, preparing for the strike. Then, in an explosion of speed that defied its enormous size, the serpent lunged. Its mouth opened wide, revealing fangs like daggers. The deer's head snapped up, eyes wide with terror. It had been spotted. The hunt was on. The deer ran. It ran faster than it had ever run in its life. Its hooves pounded the earth as it leaped over fallen logs and crashed through thick ferns. Behind it, the Titanoboa gave chase with terrifying speed. The massive snake smashed through the jungle like a living battering ram. Trees shook, branches snapped, leaves exploded into the air. The serpent's 40-foot body coiled and uncoiled in waves of pure power, propelling it forward with unstoppable force. The deer cried out in terror, tears streaming from its eyes as it desperately sought escape. Its heart hammered in its chest, its lungs burned, but it couldn't stop. To stop was to die. Miles away, the Guardian's head suddenly snapped up. His ears had caught a sound, the sound of trees falling, of a creature in distress. Without hesitation, he dropped to all fours and began to run. His massive muscles powered him through the jungle at incredible speed. Now 3 paths converged through the prehistoric forest. The fleeing deer, the hunting Titanoboa, and the Guardian racing to intervene, all hurtling toward the same point in space and time. The question was, who would arrive first? The deer burst from the jungle onto the shore of a massive lake. It skidded to a stop, hooves scraping against the rocky ground. Before it stretched dangerous waters, wide rapids, powerful currents, steep cliffs rising from the far shore. The deer's head whipped around. Behind it, the crashing sounds of the Titanoboa grew louder, closer. There was nowhere left to run. Crying out in desperation, the deer made its choice. It plunged into the water. Immediately, the current grabbed at its legs, pulling and pushing with savage strength. The deer struggled to swim, its head barely staying above the churning water. Each stroke became harder. The current was too strong. It was slowing down, exhausting, drowning. Behind it, the Titanoboa emerged from the jungle, its yellow eyes locking onto the struggling deer. The serpent moved toward the water's edge, ready to finish what it had started. The deer cried out one last time, a final call for help that seemed to echo across the prehistoric world. As someone heard, the Guardian exploded through the jungle wall like a force of nature itself. His eyes took in the scene instantly, the deer drowning in the current, the Titanoboa approaching the shore. There was no time to think, only time to act. With a roar that shook the trees, the Guardian charged down the slope and crashed into the water. His powerful arms cut through the current that had overpowered the deer. Stroke after mighty stroke, he fought his way through the rapids. He reached the deer, nearly unconscious now, and lifted it from the water with his strong arms. The deer, saved from certain death, looked up into the face of its rescuer with grateful, terrified eyes. But there was no time for relief. The Guardian's head turned, and he saw what was coming. The Titanoboa had seen them both. Now it wanted them both. The Titanoboa rose up, its head towering high above the ground, mouth open in a hiss that sounded like steam escaping from the earth itself. It saw the Guardian holding the deer in his arms, saw its prey being stolen, and with terrible speed, it began to move. The Guardian ran like he had never run before. On all fours, the deer clutched safely in one massive arm. He tore through the jungle. Trees whipped past in a blur. But behind him, the serpent was gaining ground. The gap closed. 20 feet, 15 feet, 10 feet. The Guardian could hear the snake's breath, feel its presence right behind him. The Titanoboa's jaws snapped at his heels, missing by inches. 5 feet, 3 feet. Then, through the trees ahead, the Guardian spotted salvation. A small cave entrance, barely large enough for him to fit through. Too small for the Titanoboa. With one final burst of speed and a desperate dive, the Guardian threw himself through the opening, rolling with the deer clutched protectively in his arms. They tumbled into the darkness just as the Titanoboa struck. The massive snake's head crashed into the cave entrance with a sound like thunder, but the opening was too narrow. The serpent couldn't follow. They were safe. Inside the cave, in the shadows, the Guardian held the trembling deer, gently calming it with soft sounds and careful touches. The deer's breathing slowly returned to normal. It was alive. Saved. But at the cave entrance, backlit by the fading sunlight, the massive head of the Titanoboa waited. Its yellow eyes glowed in the dimness, patient, watching. The serpent coiled its enormous body around the cave entrance, settling in to wait. The Guardian looked into those cold, predatory eyes and knew the truth. They were trapped. The Titanoboa wasn't leaving. They would wait for hours, days if necessary. As the sun began to set over the prehistoric jungle, casting long shadows across the land, the standoff continued. Guardian and deer inside. Monster outside. The forest grew quiet. The battle was not over. It had only just begun. Will they escape the waiting Titanoboa? How will the Guardian protect his new friend? What dangers still lurk in the darkness of the cave? The next chapter of this prehistoric survival story is coming soon. The jungle waits for no one, and neither should you.